Southern Oregon Sports Talk with Matt Bagley. Presented by Medford BMW on 96.1 580 The Game.
Hey everybody, Matt Bagley back with you. Southern Oregon Sports Talk, presented by Medford BMW. It's been a day, man. Back and forth, and I'm in my studio, and I get to talk local sports for 2 hours. I'm looking forward to this. I'm so excited about this. I've got two great guests tonight. Joey Keeran at 4:30. Joey's the play-by-play guy for 1490 The Score in Roseburg Radio, and Bob Lundeberg at 5:30. A frequent guest on this show, a expert on Oregon State athletics, Beaver grad, Beaver fan, Beaver beat writer at one point, and does a lot of Oregon State coverage for the Oregonian. Also does a podcast, Beaver Buzz. You can find it on iTunes. He's going to join me at 5:30. Talking high school football with Joey Keeran, 4:30. Talking Beavs with Bob Lundeberg, 5:30. Also talking NFL tonight, and I swear I had a Braves take, and then they gave up 12 straight runs. I feel bad for my friends that are Braves fans. Dave May, Medford Rogues, I'm looking at you, man. You had a great day. You had the announcement made public, the announcement of new coaches, some Oregon State coaches joining the Rogues and hopefully bolstering their campaign this summer. Had a great day, and now you have a terrible day because your Braves are just getting smoked in a crucial survive and advance game in the playoffs. I can't believe it. I had a Braves take, and then they got absolutely shellacked, and it teaches me this, because here's what I was going to say about the Braves. I was going to say that I liked St. Louis tonight because the Cardinals just have winners, and not necessarily like World Series winners. This is a young team. It's not a veteran team. But you see as an organization, they value a trait with every player they draft. And this is true today, and it was true decades ago. It's been true for the Cardinals for half a century. They value winners. Did you win a state title in high school? Did you earn first team All-State? Did you win a national championship or a conference championship in college? Did you come close? They care about that stuff. Heck, you don't have to look far to see it. This year they drafted Dylan Pierce. Crater alum, okay. Were you on the All-State team? Check. Did your team win conference championships? Check. Did your team contend for state titles? Check. Okay. How about college? Did you win a national title? Check. Did your teams contend? Check. Okay. All right. Dylan Pierce, winner, gets drafted by an organization that values winners. Now look at Dylan Pierce's rookie ball team this year. Middle of nowhere in, I want to say, either Junction City or Jackson City, Tennessee. I've never heard of this town before, so that'll tell you everything that I know about geography there. They won. They won their league this year. You look up the Cardinals farm system. Rookie ball wins their league. Full single A wins their league. Double A wins their league. Triple A wins their league. Not every year, but a ton. They have winners. They have players that are accustomed to winning, and they have players that are accustomed to performing in the playoffs. So, pivotal Game 5, survive and advance. If I have the option of picking a team full of guys that are young, talented, but they've never been there before, or a team of guys that have won consistently at every level of their lives, I'm picking that team. I liked the Cardinals tonight, and I would have said that if I was on the air 2 hours ago. I'm sure you're going to roll your eyes and go, yeah, right, Matt. But, yeah, I really liked the Cardinals tonight, and now the whole world knows why. I am stunned by what they're doing. I liked them tonight. I didn't think this was possible tonight. This is a rout of epic proportions. And we'll talk about that tonight on the show. I also want your thoughts on it tonight. 541-630-4792. Talk to me. Text me. Let me know what you think. Talking baseball. Talking NFL. Talking local stuff. I got Joey Keeran talking high school football at 4:30. And I've got Bob Lundeberg talking Beavs at 5:30. Also want to talk Ducks. I had Joey Mack on Monday's show, sideline reporter for Duck football games. And Joey offered a really fascinating analogy. We were talking about the expectations that Duck fans carry in a given game. You want Justin Herbert to look like a Heisman contender. You want the Duck running game to rattle off a bunch of big plays. You want the Duck defense to be shut down. And I think some of those expectations are met and some of them aren't, and fans get mad. And Joey offered this idea. We want the Ducks to be a beauty contestant. He said Miss Universe. What he meant by that was we want them to win pretty. You can't just win. You can't just beat Cal. You have to destroy Cal. You can't just beat Colorado this week. You have to annihilate Colorado. You got to win pretty. You got to put up a lot of points. You got to force a lot of turnovers. And right now, Oregon's not doing that. And my question for you, do you care? Do you need that from Oregon? I personally, I think that it's not necessarily that the Ducks aren't trying to win pretty. I think that the coaching staff defines pretty in a totally different way than fans. Duck fans are used to Chip Kelly. They're used to finesse. They're used to no huddle. They want to see you put up 80 points a game. That's what winning football looks like to them. But if you ask a coach what's winning football, that's not what they're going to say. They're not going to say, oh, yeah, we scored 80 points and we had this great pace. These coaches are looking at penalties, which the Ducks don't have. These coaches are looking at turnovers. The Ducks defense forces them. The Ducks offense doesn't give them up. And this coaching staff is looking at blocking. They're looking at blocking. If they are blocking guys in the trenches and they are beating blocks on the other side, that's winning football to them. That's pretty football to them. It's not that Mario Cristobal and the Ducks aren't Miss Universe. They're not winning pretty that way. But maybe they're Miss Tuscaloosa. It's SEC football brought to the Pac-12. We talk all the time about Mario Cristobal trying to bring Alabama to the West. This is what it looks like. When you focus your time and energy in recruiting on left tackles and left guards and centers and defensive ends and linebackers, you're going to get a great defense and you're going to get a really strong offensive line. You're going to get a physical football team that wins in the trenches. All those stupid cliches that we hear Saban and the SEC coaches and Cristobal copy, you see all that on display with Oregon. You don't see Chip Kelly. You don't see 80 points a game, no huddle offense. That's not pretty to them. This is pretty. And Duck fans need to get on board with that. 541-630-4792. I want your take. Text me. Talk to me. Tell me what you think. Also want to talk NFL this segment. I have Joey Keeran coming on in about 20 minutes. We're going to talk high school football. But right now, let's talk pro football. I watched the tape of the Niners-Browns game, and my biggest takeaway, I said this on Monday, and I feel really affirmed in it. Quarterbacks don't win in 2019. Yeah, I know the Patriots have Tom Brady. He's old. Yeah, I know that the Saints have Drew Brees. He's injured. Quarterbacks don't win in 2019. Look at the Niners-Browns game on Monday night. Jimmy Garoppolo just begs teams to beat him. He coughs up the football. He throws at guys when he shouldn't. They're not open. I think that there's a lot of teams in this league that are licking their chops. The Rams still get to play the Niners twice. Wade Phillips is a veteran DC. Cliff Kingsbury is doing some fascinating stuff in Arizona. They get to play him twice. Pete Carroll is a guru up in Seattle. They get to play him twice. A lot of teams are hoping they get to face Jimmy G this year because he's not that safe with the football. But it didn't matter. Quarterbacks don't really win you games in 2019 because the 49ers have two things going for them. They have an awesome offensive line with quick running backs and a dominant running game that feeds off all that. And they also have a fearsome pass rush. Nick Bosa was on fire. The sacks, the strips, the pressures, the hits. He was a one-man wrecking crew out there, and he's not alone. You got DeForest Buckner. You've got all those guys, the Stanford draft pick from a couple years back. You've got all this capital spent on defensive line talent, and they used all of it on Monday night, and they abused Cleveland. Browns couldn't get anything done because, again, it's not really about your quarterbacks. It's about what everyone else does around them. Can the center call out the right protection? Can the left tackle nail his block? Will the other team's defensive end beat that block? Quarterback is important. Quarterback's not the be-all, end-all. I think the Browns have a better quarterback than San Francisco. They still lost 31-3. And I think right now the Niners are 4-0. I'm not ready to crown them. I'll talk about that a little bit later. I'm not ready to say the Niners are a Super Bowl contender. But they'll go as far as their lines take them. I want to hear from you. 541-630-4792. Tell me what you think. Talk to me. Text me. And also, I want to get your thoughts on high school football. I've got Joey Keeran, Roseburg play-by-play guy. He's going to join me at 4:30. He's from 1490 The Score in Roseburg. He's an expert on this Roseburg team, and they just happen to host South Medford Friday night. I think that's a huge game in the Southwest Conference. I think that the loser of that game misses out on the state playoffs. And I'll talk about that at 4:30 with Joey Keeran. I'll get his perspective on that. I also want to talk about the other big baseball game tonight, Dodgers-Nats, Game 5. I want to talk about Oregon State, the Beavs, with a huge surprise last weekend. Can they do it again? We'll talk about that. And next, I want to go back to my favorite football team. I always warn you when I go in this direction. I'm a Raider fan. I lay my bias at the door. I've got a Raider take for you because I think there's something we can learn about Vontaze Burfict. Not just in football, but in life. And something that I think has been completely misunderstood about Vontaze Burfict. That's next on Southern Oregon Sports Talk, presented by Medford BMW on 96.1 580 The Game.
AAA RV is Southern Oregon's truck camper headquarters. Northern Lights are quality, lightweight, four-season truck campers that are built for adventure and to withstand whatever Mother Nature can throw at them. Two-piece fiberglass construction keeps you warm in an Oregon coast torrential downpour or cool during Arizona's hottest summers. North Star campers that go anywhere you can, allowing you to enjoy their strength, durability, and performance. Arctic Fox campers, quality by design with the ultimate back porch. The Fox Landing, a four-season all-weather camper done right. AAA RV Center, your camper headquarters. 938 Chevy Way, Medford, or AAARV.com.
Jeep Adventure Days is happening now at Lithia Chrysler Jeep Dodge of Medford. For a limited time only, get incredible savings on every new Jeep in stock. Save big on Wranglers, Cherokees, Renegades, Compass, and Grand Cherokees. If it's a Jeep and it's in stock, it's on sale. Take your pick from our huge selection of new Jeeps, Rams, Chryslers, and Dodges. All at super low prices. With vehicles arriving daily, we'll have the right one for you. Shop at Lithia Chrysler Jeep Dodge of Medford off Crater Lake Highway and on lithiasuperstore.com. Your place for Jeeps.
Dear friends, we are gathered here today to join this man, Zach, and this woman, Charlotte, in marriage. Zach?
Yeah?
Repeat after me.
Okay.
I, Zach, promise that any time I need electrical or plumbing help, I will go to Grover.
What?
Charlotte asked me to add that.
I did, Zach.
But why?
Look, as a husband, you're going to need to fix broken stuff, install new things, and you need to look like you know what you're doing, Zach.
Right.
Grover Electric and Plumbing can help you pull it off.
Well, yeah, but
He's right, Zach. You need a lot of help in that department.
Okay, fine, but what about the for better or worse part?
There'll be a lot more better than worse if you go to Grover Electric and Plumbing Supply.
He's right, Zach.
I know.
No, it's I do.
Okay.
There's just no store like it. Grover, a store built on person-to-person customer satisfaction, helpful answers to questions, quality products, everyday low prices, and easy in and out parking. For a Grover location near you, log on to GroverElectric.com.
Did you just look down at your phone? You did it again, didn't you? You know, you're flying down the road in a 3-ton hunk of steel, and a text takes your eyes off the road for an average of 5 seconds. At 55 miles per hour, that's long enough to travel the length of a football field and cause some serious damage. Turn it off. Trust me, whatever it is, you'll live.
Learn more at StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Mothership Madness in the morning with GA.
The NFC North has to play the NFC East and the AFC West. So they were all going to get the Cowboys, Eagles, the Giants, and Washington. So they'll all get the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Packers, the Vikings, the Bears, and the Lions. All have difficult runs in their schedule because of those opponents when they play other divisions.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9 on 96.1, 580 The Game.
Southern Oregon Sports Talk with Matt Bagley. Talking local sports. Weekdays 4 to 6 p.m. on 96.1, 580 The Game.
Joey Keeran coming up in 10 minutes. Southern Oregon Sports Talk presented by Medford BMW. I want to talk about Vontaze Burfict in this segment because I think there's a lesson here. The league upheld his suspension today. And the lesson to me is not, don't be Vontaze Burfict. That's what everyone else is going to say. They're going to say, hey, don't be an idiot. Don't be a jerk. Don't be a butthole. And lead with the helmet and try to kill people. That's everybody else today. I'm not going to go in that direction. I'm going to say, don't do what the league is doing. Because I think decisions like this are going to kill football. We're going to look back on the game in 20 years and go, this is why it's gone. Not because the league is building a softer game, but because the league doesn't know how. Here's my idea. Vontaze Burfict is a professional. I'm a professional broadcaster. I have done this job every day for 9 years now. That's amazing to think about. September of my freshman year in college, September 2010, I was 18 years old, and I got to do a radio show for the first time, and I got hooked. And I did a radio show every week ever since September of my freshman year. I think I took 3 months off that first summer because I was home. I was playing on the computer, and I think I did a podcast with a buddy of mine. That was about it, that freshman summer. The rest of the year, the rest of my time in college, I took summer classes. I stayed at the radio station. I did a show at least once a week. Sometimes I did a show every day. And then I started working for commercial stations, and I was doing play-by-play every week, and I was doing updates every day. And then I moved here, and I was doing updates, and I was doing play-by-play. And then I got the radio show, and I'm on the radio every day. I have professional training. I am a professionally trained broadcaster. Doesn't mean I sound like it. I'm just walking you through all of the hours that I have spent in my craft. You might be a professional cook. You cook in a restaurant. That's what you do every day. You might be a professional mechanic. You fix cars. You might be a doctor. You had to go to school. You had to be professionally trained to do what you do. How is that any different for Vontaze Burfict? The league has a serious problem. They don't know how to stop guys like this. Burfict grew up playing football. And he grew up playing linebacker. And he played it in Pee Wee football, and he played it in high school football, and he played it in college football, and he played it well. And he got to the NFL, and you have someone who is professionally trained to hit people, and then you penalize him for hitting people. I don't understand that. I think that's the problem for the NFL. They train this guy, and they cull him from the harvest of development. They have prepared this player for over a decade, and now they slap him on the wrist and say he did a bad thing. Doesn't make any sense to me. I think that's the problem for the NFL. It's not that the game is getting softer. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with guys not getting killed. I'm okay with guys not getting their brains scrambled by these hits. Totally cool with that. I don't like that as much as you do. I think that's horrible, some of the injuries players have. But I don't think you take that out of the game by taking Burfict away from the game. It's too late at that point. He's professionally trained. He's developed professional skills to hit people. You've got to start this when Burfict is a kid. When these guys are playing Pee Wee football and they're learning how to tackle. And you got to keep that foot on the gas when they're in high school ball and their coaches are teaching them how to play defense. And college ball when they're figuring out NFL speed, professional speed, flying down the field, getting their instincts honed in. If you don't hit it at those lower levels, you're never going to fix it in the pros. Vontaze Burfict is just the tip of the iceberg. 541-630-4792. I've got Roseburg's Joey Keeran coming up in about 4, maybe 5 minutes. Got time for probably one more thing in this segment. Nats Dodgers Game 5 coming up tonight. I was asked about this earlier because we've got a buddy of mine here. Actually, a few people here. It's pretty crazy. We've got a Dodgers enclave at Stevens Media Group of Medford. 96.1, 580, the game's parent company. We got a talk station, a rock station, a country station, a pop station, and like a hits station. You hear it when you go to the barber. You hear it at the grocery store. You hear it all sorts of businesses. And it feels like everybody in this building is a Dodger fan. And so the question came up, Matt, who do you like tonight? And I just can't shake L.A. Should they be in a Game 5? No. But stranger things have happened, right? I'm a math geek. I think about it this way. I was in college, and I had to code blackjack. Any programmers out there? Anybody ever work with computers? A lot of programming classes. You remember they'll test you by making you code blackjack. It's pretty simple to make. And when you do, it teaches you a lot about statistics. You learn that, there's a random chance that a certain card is pulled out of a deck, but all sorts of weird things happen in a small set, right? You're only picking between 52 cards. All sorts of weird things happen when it's only 1 out of 52, not 1 out of a billion. Well, okay, think about that. Apply it to baseball. How about 1 out of 5? How about 3 out of 5? All sorts of weird things happen in a 5-game series. That's my point. It's not a perfect sample size. It's not this wide distribution, not an even playing field. The Dodgers can be the better team. Doesn't mean they're going to sweep. I'm okay with the Dodgers playing in Game 5. Where I'm really confident tonight is just in the pitching. Whenever I go to a Major League game, I've been to 3 of them, I'm mesmerized by pitchers. The hesitation moves, the way their eyes look at each of the base runners, the way they have tells. Again, to borrow another card-playing analogy, poker players have tells. Baseball pitchers try not to have tells. Sometimes they have them, though. Sometimes they give them away. I don't think Walker Buehler has one. I see a perfect pitcher on the mound tonight for the Dodgers, and I think he's going to really carry them. I like L.A. tonight, Game 5. I want to hear from you. 541-630-4792. I wonder who Joey Keeran has tonight. I wonder if he's got the same problem I do. I'm not a Dodger fan. I grew up an A's fan. I've told the story before. Grew up an A's fan. Moneyball A's were my team. But I wasn't the biggest baseball fan. There was a long time where I didn't watch any baseball. I just didn't care about it. A's sucked, and I didn't have CSN California or NBC California, the station that carries them, and I just didn't watch them. And I'm not a Giants fan. I wasn't just going to watch the Giants games. That kind of made me want to vomit. So I just didn't watch baseball. And then my fiance and I, when we started dating, I realized she was a diehard baseball fan. And so was her family. Everybody in there, diehard baseball fans. Remember, she's a first-generation American. She grew up in San Diego. They love the Padres. It just means something more to them. Her parents grew up in Tijuana. They love the Padres. It just means something special to them that I could never get. I just wasn't that way. And I became a Padres fan through them. And I'm surrounded by Dodger fans. That's my dilemma. I am just swarmed by Dodger fans at work. Tons of them here. I wonder if Joey Keeran has that problem. He's like me. He's my clone in Roseburg. He does Roseburg play-by-play instead of North Medford. He does a 2-hour talk show. And he talks about the Ducks and the Beavs and the Blazers and everybody else. But I want to bring him on because he's an expert on Roseburg football. And South Medford plays him on Friday night. Huge game in the Southwest Conference. I think this is a game, whoever loses misses out on the state playoffs. I wonder if Joey sees it the same way. We'll ask him next. Southern Oregon Sports Talk, presented by Medford BMW on 96.1 580, The Game.
Do you have missing, failing, hurting, or broken teeth? Premier Care Dental is here for you with caring, professional dental care. We accept most dental insurance plans, and our new patients without dental insurance receive a free exam and x-rays and a choice of a crown for $690 or an implant for $890. For continued savings throughout the year, ask about our in-house dental savings plan.
My initial visit to Premier Care Dental was prompted from a radio commercial, and I went in for a free checkup. I was very impressed with the entire operation at Premier Care Dental. They are the best. Over the course of the last couple years, I've had crowns, implants, and regular maintenance utilizing their in-house dental savings plan. I highly recommend them.
Thank you, Jim. We love hearing from our patients. Call Premier Care Dental at 541-200-6747 for an appointment in Medford, Ashland, Grants Pass, or Klamath Falls. That's 541-200-6747. If you call today during normal office hours, we will see you today. Guaranteed. Visit PremierCareDentalCenters.com.
Are you looking for a job or just want to make some extra cash for the holidays? Harry and David is hiring. A variety of shift options with seasonal and year-round positions are available. Perks? You bet. They offer competitive pay, a generous employee discount, reduced bus fare, and more. Join the Harry and David family and be part of the tradition of sharing since 1934. Apply in person at 2800 South Pacific Highway or online at harryanddavid.com/jobs.
They'll challenge your authority because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
Jim Rome's got opinions.
The question should not be, did you see Jalen Hurts? But rather, did you forget about Jalen Hurts? Because it feels like a lot of people did. I'm not saying give Hurts the Heisman. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is give it to his coach, Lincoln Riley, and he can give it to whoever he wants. Because right now, if you're the starting quarterback in Norman under Riley, you're winning the Heisman Trophy.
Weekdays, 9 a.m. to noon on 96.1 580 The Game.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Southern Oregon Sports Talk with Matt Bagley. Talking local sports. Weekdays 4 to 6 p.m. on 96.1 580 The Game.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Southern Oregon Sports Talk, presented by Medford BMW on 96.1 580 The Game. I introduced my guest on the phone line right now, Joey Keeran. I told you last segment, he's basically me, except he does my job 2 hours north. Instead of North Medford play-by-play, he does Roseburg play-by-play. Instead of Rogues games in the summer, he covers Legion ball in the summer. And he does a 2-hour talk show every day. It's just not called Southern Oregon Sports Talk. He works for 1490 The Score up in Roseburg. I listen to it every time I drive up to Portland for work or going to see the lady. I implore you, check it out. They've got Blazer games, Beaver games, and a bunch of local sports as well. And they got Joey Keeran, who is a keen expert on South Medford's opponent this week. I think this is a huge game because I think whoever loses between Roseburg and South Medford misses the state playoffs. Joey, I brought you on because I want to ask you about that. How do you feel about this game?
Yeah, Matt, I completely agree with you. Thank you very much for the very nice introduction. Expert in anything is, I think, wildly over my head, but I'll take it. So I appreciate that. But no, you're absolutely right. Looking at this matchup, I would say this. I've talked with Coach Heiberger a number of times. He would say it's a Southwest Conference this year is as wide open as it's been in the time that I've been covering it, which has been about 7 years now. And, Roseburg is a team that continually is just trying to get to the top of that mound, that hump, and get over it. And it's been a couple of years now in the fourth year under head coach Dave Heiberger, and this program's been slowly climbing its way back up into a competitor in the conference. Unfortunately, they're in a bit of a slide right now at losing their last three after a 2-0 start that really had everybody thinking high hopes for this season. With the ranking system the way it is, Roseburg was looking really good going into last week's game against Grants Pass, and an unfortunate loss on the road, a game that was the final score makes it look a little lopsided, but down into the fourth quarter, it was a one-score game before things got out of hand in Grants Pass's favor. And then suddenly Roseburg's dropped down into the 30s, and they're right now on that bubble mark that we all know about. 32 teams get in, and you got to be in the top 32. Roseburg right now at number 35 in the OSAA power rankings, and a loss against South Medford this week is going to do them no favors. Even with South Medford's 20s ranking, loss at home against the conference opponent, not going to necessarily help them out there. And so for Roseburg, if they want to finally get back into the postseason for the first time since 2014, they're going to more than likely need to try and get at least to 4 wins. They've gotten to 3 wins the last couple of seasons, and they've been right on the bubble of the postseason and have missed out. And for the Indians, I think it really needs to be a 4-win season this year at least. And Roseburg, right now, looking at it, that means you got to get 1 win in conference play. Maybe you get a good chance to get a win against a winless Canby team at the end of the season as we finish out our non-conference slate. Nothing taken for granted by any means, but you more than likely need to find a win in conference play. And this week against South Medford is as big as any of them, and it looks like it should be a great matchup coming up Friday night at Finlay Field.
Yeah, you mentioned the expression in journalism is bury the lead. I'm not saying you buried the lead, but you mentioned what I think is the biggest takeaway for that Roseburg team over the last few years. They get really close, and then they get screwed by the state rankings. Do you feel that way?
Oh, we've had some fun conversations about that. You mentioned our sports talk show up here. My color analyst during football season, Josh and I do the show together up here on the sports station, and we've had some fun conversations about that the last couple of seasons when it comes to that power ranking. A lot of times you get to the end of the season, it doesn't feel like it makes a lot of sense. But, it feels like there's been times where Roseburg has been a team that could have possibly gotten in, and then we see teams that Roseburg beats that get into the postseason. Look, the power rankings, all that kind of, the media polls, the coaches polls, all that kind of stuff, it's great for you and I. when it comes down to the guys on the field, we all know the formula. Win games and you get yourself in, and that's where Roseburg's really been focused on trying to be over the last couple of years as well as going into this year. Coach Heiberger says it. Every coach will ever say it. We win games, it takes care of itself. But, yeah, the power ranking hasn't been our friend the last couple of years. It did not favor us, dropping from number 11 last week where we were before losing to Grants Pass, and then falling all the way to number 35. Roseburg has definitely taken a big hit in the power rankings, and we'll need to find a way to work their way back up, and winning is the best way to do that. So a big one this week, and South Medford coming in at 4-1 does not look like an easy team to try and beat, even if it is at home where Roseburg's been pretty good. They've had themselves finding some struggles out on the field the last couple of weeks that hadn't popped up in the early going of the season, that they are looking to try and kind of establish themselves once again, and this is going to be another big test that they have to try and prove it against.
Right. He's Joey Keeran, broadcasting Roseburg football at 1490 The Score up in Roseburg. We're going to be hanging out Friday night. He's calling the game for Roseburg. I'm calling the game for South Medford at KCMXAM.com since there's the conflict with the Ducks game. Joey, I want to talk about that South Medford-Roseburg matchup Friday, but also we bounce ideas back and forth as broadcasters. I borrow prep from you. You've helped me out a bunch, and I try to do the same for you. I think back to a text message that we had after North Medford played Bend, where North routes Bend, and then Roseburg is playing Bend the next week. So we're talking back and forth, and I say, yeah, you guys are going to handle this Bend team. It doesn't happen. And then, like you said, you start going on that skid and getting back from your form. Where do you think Roseburg have struggled in this losing streak?
It's kind of hard to peg, and I asked Coach Heiberger that exact question last week leading into the game against Grants Pass. What had been the difference between the first 2 weeks of the season when Roseburg goes 2-0 and the previous 2 weeks of the 2 weeks of the season prior to the game against Grants Pass a week ago? Asked him what the big difference was between going 2-0 and 0-2, and he said it's hard to put your finger on it, and I completely agree. It's not one thing that's glaring besides maybe turnovers. Roseburg has had 8 turnovers in the last 3 weeks, and they've only taken the ball away twice. In the first 2 weeks of the season when they were 2-0, they had only given the ball away twice and took it away 5 times. So maybe that is one of the big critical things in the game. Obviously, that you can't score points if you give away the football. But for the most part, Roseburg's offense has slowed down. They've dropped from their scoring average a little bit. They've been giving up a few more points, but I think the level of competition they've been facing has been increasing as well. They've faced a very difficult schedule. That Bend game you mentioned, going into it, I really feel, based off of what I had learned about Bend going into the matchup, they came in and ran some things that nobody had really seen from them throughout the season. And they have a star at the running back position in Nate Denny that is going to be a young man that continues to, I think, light up the stat board when it comes to rushing stats here in the state of Oregon at the 6A level this year. He put up a huge number against Roseburg on the ground. And then last week, Roseburg went and gave up a big number against Chase Coyle, the quarterback for Grants Pass, giving up over 300 yards passing through the air and 5 touchdowns. And so 1 week, it's the ground game that hurts them. The next week, it's the passing game that hurts them. So it's been a little bit of a mixture. Roseburg, for the most part, has been in these games, though. You look at a 3-game losing streak and a team now at 2-3, especially the game last week where they fall 42-21 against Grants Pass. It sounds like a 3-score game. It's like it ended up being a landslide. But with 7 minutes to go in that game, it was a 7-point game. Roseburg had Grants Pass deep in their own territory, facing 3rd and 21, and Roseburg gives up an 85-yard touchdown pass that puts Grants Pass up by 2 scores. And for all intents and purposes, it sealed the win for Grants Pass. Roseburg looked like they had some momentum going, and they give up the big play. And really, it's been explosion plays that has hurt them defensively, that has taken them out of games. And then just consistency on the offense. They move the ball one drive. They move the ball a drive for a few plays and then get stalled out. It's finding that consistent rhythm on the offense. And I think Coach Heiberger has tried to install a few new things as they get into conference play, add a few new wrinkles with the offense. This is the first year. It's his 4th season here with Roseburg. These seniors that are with him are very talented. It's been a class that has been large since they were freshmen. There's been a large participation level from this class that has worked up from their freshman level all the way now to being seniors. And now they're the first class that has gone through under Dave Heiberger's system for 4 straight years. So it is kind of the turning of the eras here at Roseburg High School when it comes to football from Thurman Bell in the number of years before that. And you really expect these guys to know the offense in and out, but it seems like a few new wrinkles adding into the offense here in the last week or so, it has really kind of taken its kind of thrown them off at times, trying to get some consistency as they try to kind of develop and broaden what they do on the offensive side of the ball. They may try to go back to more of a basic scheme and go back to what worked in the first couple of weeks of the season, see if they can kind of get that back when they were doing it well. They were going well with the ground game with Doran Gillespie and Carson Thompson out of the backfield, running the ball hard around the tackles and through the middle as well. And then they could rely on Jay Stoffel to accurately and efficiently deliver the football as a quarterback and find his speedy wide receivers. He's got some very good, talented wide receivers that are young and have been finding their way, but they are also very quick. And so if those guys can get open and they can get the ball to them, a lot of damage can be done. So missed opportunities have been big for Roseburg. Allowing the explosion play on defense has been big. And I think they really have to make sure they take better care of the football going into this matchup against South Medford.
That sweet set of pipes popping knowledge on Roseburg football was Joey Keeran, play-by-play guy for the Tribe and the host of a sports talk just like mine, except it airs in Roseburg on 1490 The Score up in Roseburg, at KSKR The Score on Twitter as well, for those of you who, like me, have an addiction to that little white bird. Joey, last question for you, and then I got to let you go. Last year, we knew who the standout was for Roseburg. We just told everybody, watch Colin Warmoth and see what he does. Who's that guy this year? Who should Panther fans watch on Friday night?
Man, it's a great question. And, you know, Colin Warmoth definitely was a star last year for Roseburg at the quarterback position. I think when it comes to football, the better name last year was Zach Mandera as well. 2 stars that did a lot of different things for the team. But definitely we want to make sure Zach gets his mention there. Now a star at Portland State University at the linebacker level, but getting a start as a true freshman there, along with some notable names from down there in Medford as well. I know Eli Spence from North Medford is up there with Zach at Portland State. But this year, you know, Jay Stoffel has been a name that has been a well-known name when it comes to other sports at Roseburg. Last year, he was a kid that broke his collarbone on the second play of the season when they were over at Mountain View. Broken collarbone, made a catch, stayed in for one more play, and then went out to go have it looked at because the pain didn't go away. And he was done until the very last game of the season. He got a chance to make his return. He's more of a baseball star. He's probably a kid that goes on to continue playing baseball. He was the Southwest Conference Pitcher of the Year as a junior this last year. Looks to try and lead the Roseburg baseball team coming up in the spring. He's taken over at quarterback. He would have probably... I don't think he would have beaten out Colin Warmoth last year for the position. He started out as a wide receiver. He would have been a guy that you would have seen get into a lot of action last year if it had not been for the injury. So he's definitely a guy to watch on the offensive side of the ball. For Roseburg, a guy that I've really been liking on the defensive side, and there's a lot of talent on the defensive side, but I'll highlight one guy that I've really been enjoying watching on the defensive side of the ball is a guy by the name of John Pike. He's up on the defensive end position. He's been really getting into the backfield quite a bit and making a lot of plays for Roseburg along the defensive line. And in the secondary, as I mentioned, or in the linebacker group there, I mentioned Zach Mandera, now a starting true freshman at linebacker at Portland State. Had to try and replace him. He's the Southwest Conference Defensive Player of the Year last year for Roseburg. And they got to try and replace him at the linebacker core. Nobody's going to fill his shoes exactly, but Doran Gillespie has done a nice job on the defensive side and has really stepped up to be a big-time tackler. And a guy by the name of Rourke Martin has really helped fill in that role as well in that middle linebacker position. Those 2 young men have been doing a great job kind of taking over the role from Zach and being a hard-nosed linebacking core that is not afraid to hit anybody and really punishes runners coming through the middle. So just some of the names to really pay attention to as we get ready for this matchup, and looking forward to it. Looking forward to having you up here and getting a chance to say hi to you as you get ready for your broadcast there, Matt, and I know that there's sounds like there'll be plenty of broadcast options for this one, but we always look forward to bringing everybody the Roseburg broadcast, and no matter who we're playing, Roseburg broadcast online at 1490thescore.com. So looking forward to it, man. I'm excited about this matchup. I think the Southwest Conference all season long is going to be providing a lot of entertaining football this season for the fans.
Yeah, a lot of competition on the field, and you mentioned the competition up in the box, man. I know I said I had one last question, but now you got me like a bull seeing red, thinking about all the shoulders I got to bump on Friday night. What's that like for you? You don't have a lot of games, I'm guessing, where you have radio going against you, and you have TV, and you have writers. Like that's not easy for you, right?
No, thankfully up here, we're I don't know if it's the right term or not. We're a bit of a one-trick pony in the fact that we've got the radio cluster here that I work at. That we've got the one sports station. We've got the newspaper here, but I kind of part-time over there and do a lot of the writing now about Roseburg football and Roseburg sports for the newspaper now. And we don't have a local TV affiliate here that's usually in town to try and do, take away stuff like they have up in Eugene. Table Rock Sports does a great job of covering sports throughout the state down there based out of Medford. I know a lot of those guys, and it's fun to run into them. But I know that adds to the media market for those of us, if we get into that conversation about, being guys in this industry. Sometimes it's not the most enjoyable when you got to run up against your competition whenever you go. I was at Grants Pass last weekend, and it was a jam-packed house with their local radio, with Table Rock, and with us all there. So it gets interesting sometimes, but everybody is friendly, which is the great thing. I know we're all competitors in some sort of manner, trying to fight for those ears and those eyeballs and get people to watch our broadcast and listen to us blather on about who knows what. But that's what we do, and that's what we enjoy doing. But, the good thing is that everybody I usually run into, everybody is a joy, and everybody's just doing it because they enjoy sports. They enjoy being able to bring fans the enjoyment of the game. They can't make it there. And, none of us are in this to get rich, which is the great thing, because it means we're all in it because we enjoy what we do and want to make it the best for the fans and for those kids that are out there on the field. To me, I think it's one of the greatest pleasures about doing this job is the fact that you get to kind of highlight and acknowledge the hard work that these young athletes do throughout the high school ranks. It's a lot of fun to see that, get to know them, get to learn their stories, get to become kind of friends of theirs throughout a season and see how they continue on. I've mentioned Zach Mandera a couple of times. He's a guy that I got to cover from a freshman until he was a senior and graduated. And I'm not part of his family. I'm not part of his inner circle. I wouldn't say that we're friends, but I've got his phone number. I call him if I need an interview for whatever reason. But nonetheless, I take a sense of pride in seeing him excel at the next level, because it's been fun to watch him grow from being a freshman all the way to a senior and now moving on. And I think I'm sure agree in that, and broadcasters everywhere throughout the state of Oregon and elsewhere. It's fun doing high school sports because it's fun watching these young athletes succeed and continue on to become great human beings and young adults.
Yeah. Hey, you might not be in it for the money, but it certainly was a draw for yours truly. All those big checks we get working in radio. Joey Keeran, 1490 The Score, my guest right now on Southern Oregon Sports Talk. Joey, man, we went way over on our time, but I don't mind at all. I'm thankful for your time.
I appreciate you giving me a call, and I figured you probably had. And I don't know about you, but I'm always in it for the free food, so that's why I'm doing this.
That is a legit. I was being sarcastic about the money. We make pennies in this industry, but free food is a hell of a perk, folks. That's the real deal. Joey Keeran, 1490 The Score. Want to wrap up hour one on a note on Duck football. Let's go there and just get Duck fans in that mindset, talking about expectations and that defense and what they should have done on Saturday. They beat Cal by 10, and everybody says, hey, the sky's fallen. And everybody says, you should have beat them by 70. But I think about it like this. If you go to a fancy restaurant, like, say, Porter's in Medford, probably the fanciest place we have in Medford, or you go to the Larks in Ashland, or you go to, I think about my favorite Mexican restaurant, Miguel's in Shady Cove. You go to a nice restaurant, you don't order a cheeseburger. You can get a cheeseburger at McDonald's. You can get a cheeseburger at Burger King. You get a fancy meal at a fancy restaurant. And I think Duck fans are mad right now because of that. The score line, you only beat Cal by 10. It's like you want to go to a fancy restaurant and get a burger. You want this team that is built with defense and built with possession and built with fundamentals and conservative play that lets Penei Sewell and Calvin Throckmorton eat on the O-line and lets Kayvon Thibodeau pin his ears back on the D-line. You want that team to change who they are. The Mexican restaurant's not going to serve you a good burger. Porter's and Larks and all these nice fancy restaurants, they'll get you the champagne flute. Don't go for the burger. They'll get you the filet mignon. Don't go for the burger. Go get a burger somewhere else. Eat fancy at a fancy restaurant. Trust your defense on a physical, defensive team. Trust that the Ducks can win a 17-7 game. And honestly, I think the way this team is built, again, offensive line, defensive line, ground control in the game plan and in the execution, that's the best kind of win for this team. That's a smothering win for this team. If you don't score, you don't kick it off. You don't kick it off. You don't give the other team chances. They barely ever see the ball, and you see a win. Ducks, with only one loss so far this year, they're winning the Pac-12 in my eyes. I'll talk about why next. No 5 at 5 next hour. We're going to talk baseball, and I've got a local tie. That's next right here. Southern Oregon Sports Talk, presented by Medford BMW on 96.1 580 The Game.
Interstate Batteries, the most trusted battery since 1952. Hello, everyone. This is David, the manager from Interstate Batteries in Central Point. Summer is starting, and lake, camping, and traveling is now in effect. I wanted to let you all know that we do free installs on most cars, trucks, SUVs, along with boats, trailers, and motorhomes. We also do free battery checks. Come down and one of my knowledgeable service techs will meet you at your vehicle to test your battery. We check and sell all kinds of batteries. Interstate Batteries is the one store for all your battery needs. From AAA to cell phone, garage doors, and even rechargeable batteries. We carry multiple lines starting from $45. We have 2 locations, one in Central Point on Highway 99 and our other location in Grants Pass at 116 Southwest M Street across from 7-Eleven, right next door to the Solar Man. Come down to either location and get your fast, free battery test. Interstate Batteries, the one store for all your battery needs. Locally owned and operated.
CBM Real Estate Services, Inc. is the leader in property management services in Southern Oregon. For over 37 years, CPM has specialized in managing residential, commercial, manufactured home parks, homeowners associations, and mini storage facilities. CPM Real Estate Services is big enough to know, but small enough to care. Big enough to know the largest selection of residential rentals in the Valley and the most current industry knowledge to manage properties the right way. And small enough to care about your needs as a tenant or property owner. As a full-service real estate company, CPM has cutting-edge technology, a proven system, and the right people to take care of your needs. You're looking for a home to rent or you need property managed by a professional team, contact the experts at CPM Real Estate Services. With offices in Ashland, Medford, and Grants Pass and properties in Klamath County, the coast, and beyond, they know the importance of maximizing the value of your asset and taking care of tenants. Check them out at cpmrealestateservices.com or call 541-773-6400 today.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
Stay up late with Amy Lawrence.
New Orleans is buzzing. Whether it's the Big Easy that you call it, the Crescent City, whether you go with NOLA, the city that hosts Mardi Gras, the home of Tulane, whatever it is, now it is Zion Zoo. And it was a zoo as he was introduced to Pelicans fans and media from all over the region.
11 at night, overnight on 96.1, 580 The Game.
Morning Mayhem with Taz and the Moose.
Hall of Famer Frank Thomas, the hit dog Mo Vaughn, both join us in studio now. Your opinion, the way the game is moving on, like evolving now, baseball itself, your thoughts?
It's not as funny. And the game has gone to more strikeouts than home runs. I'm a little disappointed because I wish they would get back to getting guys that know how to hit. It's just a different game.
Weekday mornings from 3 to 6 on 96.1, 580 The Game. This is your home for the Seahawks.
He's going to look downfield. He's going to throw. Jimmy Graham. Touchdown, Seahawks.
KTMT 580 AM and K241CA 96.1 FM Ashland.
Sports Flag.
I'm Marco Belletti. Game 5 in Atlanta, complete and total domination from the Cardinals. They put up a 10 spot in the first. That's the most runs in a first inning in a playoff game ever, and the most runs ever in a postseason game, tied for the tops as they lead the Braves 13-1. St. Louis getting a pair of RBIs from Dexter Fowler, Colton Wong, along with Paul DeYoung, while Jack Flaherty was just dominating as the Braves really pretty much done from that first inning. 6 innings, 1 run, 4 hits. He struck out 8. So the Cardinals now in the bottom of the 8th, just 5 outs away. 4 outs away now as the second out has been recorded from heading on to the NLCS. Coming up bottom of the hour, another winner-take-all division game as the Dodgers host the Nationals. Walker Buehler getting the ball for L.A.
I think in those kind of games, I think it also helps to know that you got everyone else behind you. It's kind of all hands on deck, and go as long as you can, as good as you can, and try and get out of it as clean. So, we're excited. I think the thing that's kind of lost in playoff baseball is that it's really fun.
Clayton Kershaw could be one of those guys out of the pen for L.A. Nationals, their turn to Steven Strasburg, posts a 0.64 ERA in his 28 innings in the postseason. ALDS Game 5 comes up Thursday. Astros wasting a 2-0 series lead, but they still get to go home for Game 5 with the Rays, with Garrett Cole getting the ball.
This is why you play. I mean, obviously, we would have loved to have won a game here. We didn't. We have home field. We're going home. We have another opportunity. And we have Garrett Cole on the mound, and we have an incredible lineup. So, sure, I like that we've been there before, but I haven't liked any elimination game. I mean, it's no fun to go through it. You like to eliminate when you have an opportunity.
And that's A.J. Hinch as the Rays will counter with Tyler Glass now. I'm Marco Belletti.
What's happening? Brandon Tierney here. The NFL season's underway, and we're talking football weekdays, 3 Eastern and noon Pacific, right here on CBS Sports Radio.
Keep in touch with your favorite shows. Follow The Game on Twitter at 961 The Game.
Southern Oregon Sports Talk with Matt Bagley. Talking local sports. Weekdays 4 to 6 p.m. on 96.1 580 The Game.
Bob Lundeberg coming up later this hour. 5:30 is when I'm going to toss Bob a call. We'll talk Beaver football, talk about high school football as well. That's coming up in about 30 minutes. No 5 at 5 tonight, and it's not just because I went long with Joey Keeran last segment. 1490 The Score up in Roseburg. That was fun. But no 5 at 5 because I just felt like takes tonight. I'm always a reactive show. I'm always looking at what does Mario Cristobal say? What does Jonathan Smith say? What did John Gruden utter out of his dumb mouth. I am always a reactive show. I'm never a proactive show. I never get to talk about things that I see, trends that I see, and kind of hit things off at the pass. I get to do that tonight. I noticed this morning the Medford Rogues basically proved what I said at the start of the show. I said that the Cardinals, even without that 10-run first inning, I just had a hunch they were going to win tonight because they always pick winners. They value winners. They draft guys that win at the high school level, at the college level. Then they develop those guys, and they win on their minor league teams. And so they get to the majors, and they've won all these games, and they've been in all these playoff situations, and Game 5 of the NLDS doesn't faze them. Atlanta's looking at their shoes, looking back at their helmets. What are we going to do tonight? Who's going to step up tonight? The Cardinals already did. 10 runs in the first. I can't believe that. Rogues proved that. They proved that it's not just the Cardinals thinking that way. We got a local team here that has the same mindset. Rogues GM Dave May is a friend of the station. And Dave has been giddy like a schoolgirl for about 2 weeks. He's been telling me about this, and we couldn't announce it. We got a chance to share it with the world today. The Rogues have new coaches. They got an Oregon State Beaver, Bill Rowe. He's their head coach. And he has an associate head coach, Parker Berberet, also an Oregon State Beaver. They got 2 Beavers. They got 2 from the best college baseball program in the Northwest. A 3-time national champ. They got 2 from that program. They got 2 winners. They value winners. If they do it, everybody does it. If small town, local team does it, you know the Cardinals do it. You know that the Dodgers do it. You know that it blows me away that not everybody does it. A lot of teams do, though. A lot of teams value winners. I think that's key. I think it's something that doesn't get said enough when we look at the draft and we look at free agency and we look at how teams are built. Did they get winners? The Rogues can check off that box today. Southern Oregon Sports Talk presented by Medford BMW. That was about a 20-minute interview I had last segment. That might be the record. I've had Matt Preem, Ducks beat writer for Duck Territory. I've had him on the show, I think 4 or 5 times. And the only reason I don't have Matt on more often is I think he hates it when I get him on the show because I don't let him off. I don't let him off the hook. We talk for like 20 minutes. I'm afraid Joey might have the same problem. Joey must be thinking like, wow, Matt Bagley, he just never shuts up, keeps asking me questions. We went going for 20 minutes. If you missed any of that or you want to listen back to that, feel free. I've got a podcast of this show. I will upload it after this one ends. Check it out on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or Stitcher or TuneIn or Spotify and look for 96.1 580 The Game. That's all you got to do, and you'll find it. 96.1 580 The Game. Search for that anywhere you listen to your podcasts. Getting to your text messages, I got a lot of comments about Duck football. You win, but it feels like a loss. I got some comments on the NFL. And somebody chimed in about the Niners. I got to get to this. I'm late on this ball here. Not a huge Jimmy G guy, but he's much better than Mayfield. Now, that's the common refrain this week. I respect that text. I don't agree with it. I respect that text. I don't agree with it. I think Baker makes every throw. The problem that we saw unfold on Monday night is that Baker doesn't have time to throw. And Jimmy G has time, but he doesn't make the most of it. I want to see a quarterback. There's like this fine line you want. There's this nuance you want out of the quarterback position. What I mean by that is there's guys like, say, Colin Kaepernick used to be terrible at this. He used to figure out who he was going to throw the ball to before the ball was snapped. So pre-snap, he's looking at his receivers, and he's making his mind up. Now, that would backfire because once defenses figured out that was what Kaepernick did, they would just trick him. They'd show him one thing pre-snap, and they would force him to throw to who they wanted him to throw. And you think there was a game a couple years ago where the Cardinals had 3 pick sixes on him because they did that. And everybody knew that. He was making his mind up before the play even started. You don't want that out of your quarterback. But you also don't want a guy that no matter how long you block for him, no matter how much time you give him, he can't make up his mind. I think Jimmy G does that sometimes. He just hesitates a little bit. You look at his eyes. His eyes are late. They're in the wrong place. I don't want that out of my quarterback. I want the guy that is in rhythm, is going through his progressions, looking downfield, starts up, looks back, looks left, looks right, finds his guy, in stride, in time. And I think Baker Mayfield does that better than Jimmy G. Now, Baker doesn't get time, but Baker still has a higher ceiling, I think. Baker's got the potential because he does all of those things in rhythm. I want to hear from you. 541-630-4792. It's not the only NFL take I want to get to here. I'm not ready to say my Raiders are good, but I think the Raiders start 3-2. They've won the last 2. They've beaten 2 really good teams, Colts and Bears. They hung with Kansas City for a quarter and a half. They had the lead on Kansas City. And remember, they had that impressive win on Monday night to start the year. I'm not saying the Raiders are good, but I think their success this year signals a changing of the guard in the NFL. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, over the last 15 years, we've seen the game go in one direction. All these teams ran the ball, and all these teams had fullbacks and big tight ends that could block, and that all got phased out. It all went extinct because teams are passing more than ever. Drew Brees puts up big numbers. Peyton Manning put up big numbers before him. Now Tom Brady's breaking everybody's records. Teams are passing like crazy now. And you got NFL teams like Cliff Kingsbury's Cardinals that pass, 80% of the game? That's all they do is pass. But I think now we're seeing NFL teams go in the opposite direction. When all these teams pass the football, receivers are small. They're getting drafted. They're small. Corners are getting drafted. They're small because there's such a demand for corners. Safeties are getting drafted. They're small because there's such a demand for safeties. And all those big, hulking blockers and the guys that could stop them, your middle linebackers, your hitters, they've gone extinct. And what does that mean? Well, a team like the Raiders, Sunday in London, the Raiders lined up in goal line all game. They only had 3 healthy wideouts. So what do? They never used their wideouts. You'd see Hunter Renfrow on the field. Everybody else was a tight end or a fullback. You would see Keelan Doss, the Hard Knocks hero, on the field. And then there would be tight ends and fullbacks. They weren't spreading it out, going 4 wides, going empty with a bunch of receivers. They were smashing teams inside because they understand in 2019, teams don't have middle linebackers. Teams don't have thumpers. They don't have hitters. They don't have size on defense. And so you can get your offensive linemen in the game, and you can get blockers, and you can bully people. I think it's a changing of the guard in the NFL, and I think more teams are going to go in that direction. Look at what the Ravens have done this year. Lamar Jackson is their quarterback. He's also their best runner. They run the ball. They smash it. Look at what the Niners did on Monday night. Jimmy G is not great. He doesn't have to be. They've got 4 running backs that can start on any other NFL team. They've got guards that can pull. They got linemen that can block. They have a team. They have a running game. Are the Saints still a passing attack? Yes. Are the Patriots still a passing attack? Yes. Are the Chiefs still a passing attack? Yes. But the rest of the league is zigging where they are zagging. I think we're going to see the run game come back and come back in a big way. Southern Oregon Sports Talk presented by Medford BMW. Airing on 96.1, 580 The Game. I got Bob Lundeberg. He has written at the Oregonian. He has written at the Corvallis Gazette-Times in the past. He does a podcast called Beaver Buzz. You can find it on iTunes. And he's going to join me at 5:30. In the meantime, I got one more take this segment, and then I'll move on. I want to talk about Oregon State and just the craziness that is that Beaver win last Saturday. I had a college fraternity brother in town, and I have a rule. Anytime one of my old friends from school comes to the Valley, I take him out, and we go out for a beer or two. Now, we don't go crazy. We don't just get pummeled. We don't get to, like, the expression when I was in school, if somebody had a birthday party, was make sure he forgets where he lives. We don't go that far. We don't do that anymore. But I had a fraternity brother come into town, and he loves the Ashland Plaza. So we went down to Ashland. We had a couple beers, and I live in Talent. I sobered up. It's a safe, easy drive back home. And on my drive home, I'm listening to the Beaver game, and my jaw dropped. I could not believe the score. I could not believe that Oregon State, despite having less talent in the secondary than UCLA has in the wideout core, despite having less talent on the coaching staff than UCLA has on the coaching staff, I was stunned that the Beavs skill guys torched UCLA. To me, that's telling. The talk this week is that for all the criticism early in the year, and it was rightly deserved. I didn't think Jonathan Smith did a good job that first month of the year. For all the criticism that first month of the year, this is a dramatically improved roster. I thought the Beavs were a worse team because of their performance so far. You look back, though, they barely lose to Hawaii. They hang with Oklahoma State in the first half. And they trip up along the way. They lose to Stanford, barely. But right now, the Beavs are in contention. At one point Saturday, the Beavs were the number 2 team in their division. Now they're the number 3 in the Pac-12 North because Stanford's got the head-to-head. That's not going to last. But maybe Oregon State can pass them. Maybe that's why it's not going to last. I don't know. I'm willing to believe. I'm not saying the Beavs will beat Utah this week, but I wouldn't put it past them. Jake Luton just played the game of his life. They finally figured out how to run the ball and how to build the play action off of it. They finally figured out a depth chart in the receiving core. Tyjon Lindsey was awesome. Champ Fleming was awesome. And Jonathan Smith called up a great game plan. I'll say this. If Luton and Lindsey have another connection like Saturday, the Beavs win that game. Because that offense can keep them through any storm Utah throws at them. That offense can keep them through anything. And I think Utah poses a totally different matchup for Oregon State. I think the kind of teams that have burned them this year are the air raid teams like Hawaii and Oklahoma State. I don't think Utah's built that way. I think Utah will play right into Oregon State's strengths. It's like the Stanford game. The question for me is depth on the lines. We know Utah has it. They recruit for it. They work for it. I don't know if the Beavers put that time in. I don't know if Jonathan Smith has gone out and shaken hands and kissed babies and all the things you have to do. It's like if somebody runs for office. This has always been the biggest detractor for me. I've always thought I could do all the day-to-day things that a politician does. You take phone calls from people, you read emails from people, you read letters from your constituents, you sit in whatever government building you're in all day, and you eat catered food, and you read legalese. You read all these bills and amendments and propositions. I think I could do all that. Some people would get bored to sleep with that. I think I could handle it. I think it would be pretty fun. The part of being a politician that would drive me crazy is running for election. Because you got to be peppy and you got to put on this face and you got to be somebody that I'm not. I'm not. When I'm off air, I'm pretty unfriendly. I'm pretty cold. I just do my job, then I go home and I relax. And that's how I live my life. I'm not like everybody's best friend. I don't think Jonathan Smith is either. And I think as a head coach, as a recruiter, you have to be kind of friendly. You have to be warm with people. You have to make more of an effort than he does. And I think that could rear its head on Saturday. Because Utah does all those things. They get all these high-value defensive linemen, 4-star guys, and they woo them, and they impress them, and they're warm to them and friendly with them, and they get them to go to Utah. And I think that might be the difference on Saturday. But I like the Beavers' chances because you got Luton, you got Lindsey, you have this passing game figured out. I think the offense can keep them in it. It's going to be closer than people think. I want to hear from you. 541-630-4792. And I'll have Bob Lundeberg from the Oregonian and Beaver Buzz, his podcast, at 5:30. We're going to talk Oregon State, get a feel for what the Beavs can do, and find out if I'm crazy for thinking they got a chance. That's coming up in about 10 minutes. In the meantime, let's talk Blazers. I haven't hit Rip City yet tonight. I got to do that. Let's talk NLDS. Dodgers game 5 tonight, too. We got to go there. And one more thing on the Duck game. This is the number one thing I think Oregon needs to watch out for Friday. That's next right here. Southern Oregon Sports Talk, presented by Medford BMW on 96.1 580, The Game.
Jeep Adventure Days is happening now at Lithia Chrysler Jeep Dodge of Medford. For a limited time only, get incredible savings on every new Jeep in stock. Save big on Wranglers, Cherokees, Renegades, Compass, and Grand Cherokees. If it's a Jeep and it's in stock, it's on sale. Take your pick from our huge selection of new Jeeps, Rams, Chryslers, and Dodges. All at super low prices. With vehicles arriving daily, we'll have the right one for you. Shop at Lithia Chrysler Jeep Dodge of Medford off Crater Lake Highway and on lithiasuperstore.com. Your place for Jeeps.
Music is a bridge between the material and the spiritual. My name is Harvey Lauer, and I'm 82. As a blind person, you have to be aware that nobody can tell you what you can or can't do. You really have to try things. My folks got me a little radio in 1940, and that was the best Christmas present I ever got. When I was 11 years old is when I started to play music, play the piano, and then the accordion, and then the cello. My wife, who was also blind, was a good cook. When she died, that's when I started Meals on Wheels. America, let's do lunch.
It's Meals on Wheels. 1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
More than 7.7 million American teenagers participate in high school sports every year, including about 101,000 here in Oregon. They're all learning essential life lessons, like the importance of hard work, time management, and self-discipline, skills that are helping them become better leaders and more active, responsible citizens. This message presented by the Oregon School Activities Association and the Oregon Athletic Directors Association.
This is The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
Aaron's going to have to change his game a little bit because when you have a defense as good as Green Bay, and it's mostly young, and it's mostly guys going into their prime or in their prime, you don't have to play hero ball. There's going to be multiple weeks this year that Aaron can play. Hand it off, don't get hit, be smart, let the ball go early, get it out of your hand.
Colin Cowherd.
Weekdays at noon on 96.1 580 The Game.
So, I'm a dog, and I'm kind of new to this family, but I've noticed a trend. My humans do this thing where they go around and get all my toys and hide them in this basket, but it's always the same basket, and it's always the same place, and then they act so surprised when I find them, but I'm like, hello, that's where you put it last time. Humans are the worst at hide and go seek.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Southern Oregon Sports Talk with Matt Bagley. Talking local sports. Weekdays 4 to 6 p.m. on 96.1 580 The Game.
Welcome back to Southern Oregon Sports Talk, presented by Medford BMW here on 96.1 580 The Game. Talking college football. Just had a segment on Oregon State. Talking NFL. Told you I'm not ready to crown my Raiders, but I like their style. I like the way they're winning. I think it's different. I think it's new, and the league's going to copy it. And I also want to talk Blazers tonight. I have not done that yet tonight. Blazers, they just kicked off their year. I know it's early, probably too early to overreact to anything we see in the preseason, but I can't wait to see the Western Conference this year. It's a wild Western Conference this year. You've got a Golden State team decimated by injuries. They're not going to have Clay. They lost KD in free agency. They lost Iggy. I don't think the Warriors are going to be good this year at all. I think teams are going to key in on Steph Curry, and that means somebody else is going to sit on top of the throne out west. Is it Portland? Why not, right? You got Damian Lillard, C.J. McCollum. I liked what I saw last night from Mario Hezonja. I think having that third ball handler, that third guy that can make some plays and have some plays drawn up for him, I think that really helps them. But I also want to see how the big man situation shakes out. Is it Collins and Whiteside playing together? And how does Whiteside fit? I think there's still a lot of questions on this team. I'm not ready to say the Blazers are a contender yet. But I think the seat's open. I think that the room is empty and ready for them. I just don't know if they can fit through the door, I guess. Got to see the big men situation. Got to see how that shakes out. And got to see if Whiteside can even contribute to that team. Because he's a head case. You never know with him. He's one of those guys, you see this every year. Somebody signs a big deal in free agency somewhere else, or somebody gets traded, and the reaction from the old fan base isn't, no, it's not, oh, man, I missed that guy, or, oh, man, I wish we would have kept him. It's, oh, good riddance, right? I think about years ago, I'm a Raider fan, the Niners had Kwame Harris as an offensive lineman, and Oakland signed him to like a 7-year contract, $40 million, something crazy like that. And Niner fans were clapping and cheering like they had just won the Super Bowl. You just lost a guy. We just took a guy from you in free agency, and you're happy about it. Like, that's a bad sign. That's when you know you just signed a bad player. I'm afraid the Blazers might have walked into that situation with Whiteside. They trade for Whiteside, they get him from the Heat, and Heat fans celebrated like they had just won the title. They hated Whiteside. Anyway, I don't know if that'll blow up in their faces or the Blazers' faces or anybody when it's all said and done, but we'll just wait and see. It's too early to overreact. I did like what I saw last night, though. I was optimistic after what I saw last night. I want to hear from you. 541-630-4792. Bob Lundeberg from the Oregonian, and he also hosts a podcast called Beaver Buzz. We're going to talk Oregon State with Bob in a couple minutes. I still am floored by that Braves-Cardinals score. How crazy is that, right? Like, it's Game 5 of the NLDS. It is a do-or-die playoff game. and you're a professional baseball player, you're a guy that you have dreamed of this moment your entire life. Like the expression we always hear is, players dream of playing in these big moments. When you're a kid in the backyard and you're playing wiffle ball, you dream of playing in that elimination game to single-handedly carry your team to the playoffs. And then in that moment, do or die, right? Everything on the line. They give up 10 runs in the first inning. Professionals. It's crazy. 13-1 the final. I'm floored by it. I can't believe that happened. But that's a testament to development, You have a team like the Cardinals. I've said it before. I think back to the Rogues today. The Medford Rogues coming out and saying our new head coach is an Oregon State Beaver, Bill Rowe. And his associate head coach is an Oregon State Beaver, Parker Berberet. And they won at Oregon State. And they played minor league ball. And Rowe played for a little bit. Berberet made it all the way to AAA. Players that valued winning. Now coaching at a school that values winning. And they get hired by a team that wants that value of winning. That wants that love of winning, that understanding of winning. Not everybody has that. The Cardinals have it too. I'm not a Cardinals fan, but you could talk me into anything with that team in the month ahead. They might just win it all. 541-630-4792. I want to hear from you. I want your take on it. Dodgers, Nats tonight. Who do you like? Who do you got? I think Dodger Blue gets it done. I said last hour, for me, it's their pitching. I love watching pitchers when I watch baseball. And I just can't fathom Walker Buehler getting shellacked tonight. He's got it. He's got everything you want to me. I talked about pitchers sometimes have a poker face and they have tells. I don't think he has tells. I think it's really hard to key in on what he does. I think he's going to do really well tonight. I want to hear from you. 541-630-4792. Also want to talk college football. I haven't got a chance to hit the Ducks yet, but I'm running late, so I'll save that for the end. One thing that I think Oregon needs to avoid on Friday night, I'll save that for 15 minutes from now. And next, I'm going to get you Bob Lundeberg from the Oregonian. Let's talk Beavs. Let's talk some high school football if we get a chance. What I really want to know is, was that Oregon State win fluky? Did they just beat up on a bad UCLA team, and did they get lucky doing so? Or are there lessons we can learn from this game? Are there things the Beavs can apply to the Utah game? Can they go on a win streak? Can they beat the number 15 team in the country? I'll ask Bob Lundeberg next on Southern Oregon Sports Talk, presented by Medford BMW on 96.1 580, The Game.
Selfless service is the guiding principle that drives Army National Guard soldiers to be always ready whenever disaster strikes. They are your next-door neighbors and your colleagues in schools, offices, and factories. To be a Guard soldier is to stand ready to serve at all times for family, for community, and for country. To learn more, log on to NationalGuard.com or contact an Army National Guard recruiter in your area.
Sponsored by the Oregon Army National Guard. Aired by the Oregon Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Pharrell pulls no punches.
They also own the Texas first rounder from the deal that sent Tunsil and Stills to Houston. Trust me, they got rid of Kenny Stills because he opened his mouth about the owner. I guarantee you, the owner said get rid of him. You want to talk crap about me? I write your checks? Get him out of here. I even told you the day it happened they were going to trade him. You don't talk about the guy that writes your checks that way and not get fired or traded.
Weeknights at 7 on 96.1 580, The Game.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
Or if that resume was from someone who
worked 12-hour shifts at the recycling company with my dad, who's 72. That taught me a work ethic that I carry with me every day.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone.
Growing up where I did, a lot of things could have gotten in the way of my goals. But I learned to push through, and that's what I bring to work every day.
So maybe it's time we look beyond the resume and look to Grads of Life. Discover new ways to develop great talent that are so much more than what's on paper at gradsoflife.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
If you own a gun, you have a full-time responsibility. When you aren't using it, be sure it can't get into the hands of curious children, troubled teenagers, a thief, or anyone else who might misuse it. Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. Remember, always, lock it up. For more information on firearms storage safety, visit ncpc.org. This message brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and the Ad Council.
From opening night to Super Bowl 54 in Miami, don't miss a second of the NFL this season. Hi, this is Ian Eagle of Westwood One Sports. Join our crew each week for the best in primetime NFL action. Thursday, Sunday, and Monday Night Football. The NFL's biggest stars shine on the brightest stage. Westwood One is the exclusive national radio home of the NFL, and it's right here.
96.1, 580, The Game.
Southern Oregon Sports Talk with Matt Bagley. Talking local sports. Weekdays 4 to 6 p.m. on 96.1, 580, The Game.
Hey everybody, Matt Bagley back with you. Southern Oregon Sports Talk presented by Medford BMW. Now, I'm a reader. Some might say a voracious reader. I keep books at my bedside. I have a Twitter addiction. I read a lot. And I noticed last week as I was prepping for North Medford football on 96.1, 580 The Game, that our friends at the Oregonian have quite the bullpen this year. They got Will Rubin, friend of the station. Will used to do radio hits with us all the time. And they got Bob Lundeberg writing stuff about high school football. And it got me thinking, I haven't had Bob Lundeberg on the show in a while. Bob's written about the Beavs. He covered the Oregon State baseball team when they won a national title 2 years ago. He has written a lot about Beaver football and basketball in the years back. And I wondered what you thought about that win, Bob. Let's start there. Beavs beat UCLA on Saturday night. I didn't see that coming. How about you?
I'd be lying to you if I said that I was certain that Oregon State was going to go down there and get a victory, but I definitely thought it was a possibility just because, even though the wins hadn't piled up yet for Oregon State through the first third of the season, I think we did see a lot of progress, really kind of on both sides of the ball. I mean, the offense has been strong, really dating back to last year under Coach Jonathan Smith. But, I think the defense, particularly in the front seven, was starting to make some strides. And then really in the second half of the Stanford game, I think we saw Oregon State play arguably its best half in a long time. Now, it ultimately didn't matter because of a couple events at the very end of the game, but there were a lot of positive signs, I think, for the Beavers heading into that UCLA game. And obviously Chip Kelly is having some struggles down there, and things kind of came together quickly early on as the Beavers, got that 21-0 lead and sort of just kind of kept going from an offensive perspective from there. So I think it was a really nice win for the Beavers, to get that first Pac-12 victory, and now we'll see what they can do the rest of the way here in conference play.
Yeah, first Pac-12 victory. That implies they have a chance for a couple more. Do you think they get one against Utah?
Oh, I certainly wouldn't predict it. I mean, I think the spread now is Utah by 13, 14 or so. I think that line might be a little high just because, the Utah offense isn't necessarily super explosive. The Utes are also dealing with a couple injuries. But, look, I mean, coming into the season, I think a lot of people figured, Utah, Oregon, Washington, those might be the three best teams in the league. And the Utes have certainly been pretty impressive overall, just with that one loss to USC. So it should be a good game. I think it's going to be an entertaining game. I think it will be a big test for Oregon State's offense because while the Beavers have looked really good at times this year on offense, I'm not sure that they've seen a defense yet that's really maybe even close to kind of what they're going to see out of Utah. So I think it's going to be an interesting game. I certainly would not be stunned if the Beavers win, but I also wouldn't be predicting an Oregon State win either.
Talking with Bob Lundeberg, you can see Bob in a lot of places, writes for the Oregonian, used to work in Corvallis, and like I mentioned, covered the Oregon State baseball team when they won a national title 2 years ago. I've joked before, you're kind of the Adam Schefter of Beaver baseball, Bob. Got a Beaver baseball angle for you, and then I want to ask you about that Thurston piece you were telling me about off air. Medford Rogues, Summer League baseball team here, they add Bill Rowe as their head coach and Parker Berberet, I think I'm getting that name right, as the associate guy. Those are assistants on the Beaver squad. Have you ever talked to those guys?
You know, I have not spoken with Parker. He actually is a very recent addition to be an undergraduate assistant coach, but I certainly do remember his time in Oregon State. He was a very effective catcher for the Beavers. I think he almost made it to the majors. I think he topped out at AAA, but he had a nice pro career, and I know that I think they're expecting solid things from him from a coaching perspective. You mentioned Bill. His last name is actually pronounced Rao. I know it's spelled Rowe, but it's actually pronounced Rao. Bill's a really good guy with actually a very interesting a backstory on some of the things that he did in his post-professional baseball career. But, yeah, I've talked with Bill several times over the years. I think he's a very sharp guy. I really like his demeanor, especially with how he would mix with, the old styles of Pat Casey and a Pat Bailey. He just had maybe a little bit different temperament than those guys, and I think it fit in really well. So I would expect that to be a really strong coaching staff, and really, I think I'd say I'm just excited for both of those guys.
Something about baseball in our state makes for weird names. I think about the day the Ducks hired Waz, I made the mistake, and I felt so bad. I had the Ducks radio play-by-play guy, Joey Mack, who does their baseball games, and I was asking him about Coach Waz, because I'm thinking, it's like Yastrzemski, right? Yastrzemski is Yaz, so this guy has to be Waz, and just making a fool of myself for 10 minutes before Joey said, hey, you're getting it wrong. So I'm thankful you're a little nicer to me there, Bob.
Well, hey, I mean, it happens all the time. It's funny. It kind of reminds me of through his entire freshman year and a large part of the sophomore season, we would call him Caden Grenier, the former shortstop of the national title team.
Everybody got his name wrong.
And it's interesting. Caden apparently didn't care, and he never said anything to us. I think his entire life he's just been used to being called different things and didn't mind. But apparently how we ended up finding out that his name was actually pronounced Grenier was that his mom called into one of the TV stations at some point and said, hey, you guys are saying my kid's name wrong. And Pat Casey didn't know either. So nobody knew what the pronunciation of his name was. It was actually kind of a funny little bit there for a while. And I think Caden got tired of it himself. But it is interesting what happens with name pronunciation because, people mispronounce my last name all the time too. So I guess I'm just used to it.
No doubt. No doubt. I always want to say Lundberg, like that guy on Office Space. But he's Bob Lundeberg. He writes about the Beavers. And you also have a Thurston piece coming up. Now, this is fascinating to me because they're north of us, obviously. That's Eugene area. But they are a classic example of a smaller school punching above their weight and proving that anybody can beat anybody in Oregon. What are you writing about, Bob?
Pretty much just from the point that, Thurston had a good solid 5A program, from the, 2016, 2017 in there. But then they really took that next step and ascended to the top, but winning the Class 5A title last year. And they're 5-0 this year. And really, Thurston is certainly the team to beat. I mean, I think, you could look at maybe West Albany, maybe Silverton, maybe a couple of these other teams could give them a run. But Thurston is clearly the overwhelming favorite. And I just kind of was interested how this all came together. And, what usually happens with high school football, a lot of it is just as simple as they have a really, really good class of seniors that has been bonded and together for a long period of time. And a lot of these kids got a lot of action as sophomores back in 2017. And if you look up and down Thurston's 2018 state championship roster, there were really a lot of juniors on it. So when you have the ability to win a state championship and then bring so many of those guys back, they're all the quarterbacks back, running back, linemen, linebackers, defensive backs. You find these returners everywhere. And there's just a really good culture going on at Thurston right now. They have a lot of talent. I think it's a really good coaching staff as well. And we're seeing what happens because Thurston, we know Thurston's legit because Thurston was able to handle Sheldon earlier this year. So Thurston's a really, really good program at the 5A level, and I think they're probably going to repeat as state champion.
Yeah, you heard that from Bob Lundeberg. I agree with you, Bob. Hey, before I let you go, I'm calling you from Boise right now. You're in Boise. Tell us about your life and your journey and what you hope for this year as a writer.
Yeah, I'm just like you mentioned. I moved out here to Boise over Labor Day weekend. My wife actually got a job out in this area. We've been looking at a couple different spots to kind of move and just to kind of try some different things. And we're both from Oregon, so we liked that it wasn't too far away. But luckily for me, because so much of media these days, you can be done remotely, I've been able to do a lot of the same stuff that I was doing while I was living back in Oregon, but just doing it remotely. Certainly there isn't as much day-to-day attention, whether I'm at a high school or college stuff, but I still have my podcast going, the Beaver Buzz podcast that you can find on Apple Podcasts. And I still write, various pieces for different publications, including the Oregonian, like where most of my high school stuff is. But for right now, I'm just kind of out here doing the freelance game, working on a couple of little side projects as well, and kind of enjoying the different lifestyle it is out here in Boise, because it is a little bit different than Willamette Valley. But I like it. I think we're both liking it so far.
What's been the biggest adjustment for you?
Oh, the biggest adjustment. It's so dry out here. So even like this time of year, it's been incredibly sunny. But it's just, it's a little dry, and I know that what is going to ultimately be the biggest adjustment is the fact that it just gets colder than what I'm used to in the winter. But, in terms of like from a cultural perspective and a lot of things, it's actually not quite as much different from, Western Oregon as I think a lot of people think. The Boise area is growing so much. There's a lot of transplants out here from really all up and down the West Coast. So I think it's been a really good transition. I'm actually kind of curious to see what it's like out here in the winter because, growing up in Western Oregon, didn't necessarily see tons of snow. I think I'm going to get a little bit more snow now, so maybe I'll have to learn to ski.
Yeah, bring it on, says Bob Lundeberg. He's looking forward to the winter out in Boise. He writes, you can find him in the Oregonian, among other publications. OregonLive.com is where he's got that great piece on Thurston and a 5A program, kicking butt against anybody in the state. OregonLive.com, check that out. Also, follow Bob on Twitter at @the_real_Bob. One of my favorite handles, The Real Bob. Bob, as always, I love having you on. I'm so excited for your adventure and what's to come, and I thank you for the time that you give me on this radio show.
Yeah, anytime, Matt. We'll talk to you again soon, okay?
All right, Bob. Okay, that is Bob Lundeberg from the Oregonian. Let's wrap up with that Ducks take I've been teasing all night. I finally get to it. One thing the Ducks need to avoid Friday night. That's next on Southern Oregon Sports Talk, presented by Medford BMW on 96.1 580, The Game.
We hear you. One of the frustrating things about furniture shopping is waiting up to 8 weeks for delivery. Trust me, it's frustrating for us too. So we're doing something pretty radical at Garrison's Home and Outlet in Phoenix. 100% of the Phoenix inventory is in stock. And if it's not, you can take the floor model set. Find it today, buy it today, take it with you today. Instant gratification, neat instant furniturecation. Even our made-up words are radical. Garrison's Home and Outlet, just off the Phoenix exit on the I-5. Garrisons.com, we got your back.
Are you looking for a job or just want to make some extra cash for the holidays? Harry & David is hiring. A variety of shift options with seasonal and year-round positions are available. Perks? You bet. They offer competitive pay, a generous employee discount, reduced bus fare, and more. Join the Harry & David family and be part of the tradition of sharing since 1934. Apply in person at 2800 South Pacific Highway or online at harryanddavid.com/jobs.
Do you have missing, failing, hurting, or broken teeth? Premier Care Dental is here for you with caring, professional dental care. We accept most dental insurance plans, and our new patients without dental insurance receive a free exam and x-rays and a choice of a crown for $690 or an implant for $890. For continued savings throughout the year, ask about our in-house dental savings plan.
My initial visit to Premier Care Dental was prompted from a radio commercial, and I went in for a free checkup. I was very impressed with the entire operation at Premier Care Dental. They are the best. Over the course of the last couple years, I've had crowns, implants, and regular maintenance utilizing their in-house dental savings plan. I highly recommend them.
Thank you, Jim. We love hearing from our patients. Call Premier Care Dental at 541-476-4583 for an appointment in Grants Pass, Ashland, Medford, or Klamath Falls. That's 541-476-4583. If you call today during normal office hours, we will see you today. Guaranteed. Visit PremierCareDentalCenters.com.
Hi, Mom. Is Claire's birthday party today? Me again, Mom. Where did I put my history book? Hi. Sorry, forgot one last thing. Sometimes it's hard to concentrate. At school, I start looking out the window, and then I forget what I was supposed to be thinking about. I know it seems like I don't care, but I do. It's just difficult for me. Love you, Mom. Bye.
Join parents and experts at Understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive. Brought to you by Understood.org and the Ad Council.
Westwood One Sports is the exclusive home for Thursday Night Football. Hi, this is Ian Eagle.
And this is Tony Baselli.
Join us each week as we bring you prime-time NFL action.
Premier matchups, top players, vicious rivalries.
The best of the NFL each week. If it's Thursday Night Football, it's right here.
Your radio home for Thursday Night Football. 96.1 580, The Game.
Southern Oregon Sports Talk with Matt Bagley. Talking local sports. Weekdays 4 to 6 p.m. on 96.1 580, The Game.
Wrapping up the show, Southern Oregon Sports Talk, presented by Medford BMW. I've been talking about this idea all night, and I just haven't had time for it. One of those nights where I have an interview with Joey Keeran that goes about 10 minutes more than it could have, which is a good thing because it means I had a lot of questions and he had a lot of good answers, and we had a great conversation about high school football this weekend. Also had a conversation with Bob Lundeberg from the Oregonian, and not just on Oregon State football and the Rogues' new coaches that came from Oregon State, but also on high school football. And not just on sports, but on life, because Bob is going to Boise now and trying to find his way, and newlywed as well. I could have spent 20 minutes asking him about all the pitfalls there, because I'm about to jump into that pool in a few months. Maybe. We'll see. Yeah, just a lot going on the show tonight. If you miss any of it, check it out. iTunes, Apple Podcasts, wherever. Just look for 96.1 580 The Game. I got to talk Ducks because I've talked about this and I just haven't got a chance to really get into it. But I think they really need to watch out for a trap game. That's the number one thing, if I'm Mario Cristobal, that I tell this team you need to avoid. You've got Washington coming up in 2 weeks. You've got a grind in the month of October. Washington, Wazoo, USC. But if you lose to Colorado, you're tripping before you even get a chance to run. I think this is a genuine question because the Ducks are young, and I think at certain positions on the staff, I'm not saying Mario Cristobal, but Marcus Arroyo and first-year DC at that school, at that level of competition, their defensive coordinator, who has been outstanding this year, and all the assistants under him, I think that the consistency might not be there yet for Oregon. And that's where those trap games really get you. When you're not the same team week in, week out, you might not bring it a Friday night against Colorado. I think the Ducks need to watch out for the trap game. They got to understand, You're playing a stiffer competition 2 weeks from now, but you got to beat Colorado first. I want to hear from you, 541-630-4792. Do you have any concerns heading into this Friday game? I think the Ducks are the favorite. I think they should be the favorite. I just think they have to watch out for the trap game. Colorado's not a great team. They've got some talented players. And it's a Friday game. It's going to be a change. It's going to be a rapid-fire, improvisational sort of night for a lot of those players. They're not used to playing on Friday night, not for college anyway. I don't think this will be easy. I think this is going to be a really interesting game Friday night. I want to hear from you, 541-630-4792. And, I mentioned Friday night. We're not airing South Medford football on the radio because of that Ducks game. We're streaming it. We're going to air it on kcmxam.com. We're not airing it on the radio. And it irks me because I'm a radio guy. That's what I do. And part of it is bias because I want to air these games on the radio, but part of it is just me as a fan. I don't know why the Pac-12 schedules these Friday games. I'm really irritated by it. You deny the person like me that wants to listen to these games, and now I can't, wants to watch these games, and now I can't because I'm working. But think about all the parents that you screw over with this. Think about all the players that they want to visit your program. They want to go to Autzen and watch the Ducks game and get to meet all the players and coaches, and then you get to recruit them as a school, and now you can't do that because they're watching Friday Night Football, or they're playing in the high school football game, or they're coaching the high school football game. Think of all the football fans that you rob, and they can't see you now. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's absolutely idiotic what the Pac-12 is doing with these Friday night games. I know I'm not going to watch it. I won't get the chance. I wonder if you will. Tell me, text me. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Southern Oregon Sports Talk presented by Medford BMW. Again, kudos to the Medford Rogues. They got new coaches. Good luck to all my coworkers that are Dodger fans. I'll know immediately whether or not the Dodgers win tomorrow. I don't even have to watch it because if it's a good day in the office, they'll win. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Then Thursday Night Football right here, Southern Oregon Sports Talk.